Continuing the preview interviews ahead of the 2024 VCT Americas competition or kickoff competition. As a matter of fact, I'm here accompanied by crashies of NRG prior to the start of said competition. Crashies, thank you so much for taking the time. Um, New year, new team, you know the saying, but looking at NRG's new team, how has it been, just fitting in with these new teammates? If that's the appropriate thing to say for one of them, new teammates. So how has it been, fitting in with this new squad?
The transition has been pretty easy, I would say. We all kind of knew each other outside of Valorant. We've been friends with Ethan for a long time, and Marv was obviously our past teammate. So the only one that we really had to get to know was Demon One, and I think he's just slotted in perfectly with us. We get along really well, and everything's just been really easy.
Yeah, of course, and going into these new additions, more so with Ethan. First with Ethan, in fact, there's been plenty of talk about how he will fit in as the IGL, given his past experience in EG and how he was contributing to the calling for that squad, which then led to the World Championship win. And so it's one thing to talk about, Ethan's leadership, but for one that is working directly with him as his teammate. What has been some of the key things that you feel you have to adapt when it comes to having Ethan be the IGL in relation to what was then your past IGL in FNS?
So I think the main thing is there. I think there's only one thing, honestly, and it's just they have different calling styles, which obviously is going to be a given, right? We've played with FNS for so long now, like up to like 3 years or something like that. So we were pretty familiar with how he liked to call, and what he kind of expected out of us. So I'd say the only thing that we've had to get used to is just how Ethan likes to call, what he likes to call, and just try and give him the support that we gave FNS. Obviously, we've learned a lot, from being led by FNS. So I feel like it's kind of on us to also help Ethan succeed in that role. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is just the calling style is a little different.
Yeah, of course. And going a little bit deeper into that, what makes it different? And I know you said it's different, but what about it makes it exactly as such?
Um, I don't want to say too much, but I would just say the main thing is just like how he likes his rounds to play out. Sometimes, I mean, I'd say he's really good at changing the pace up when he wants to go slow, when he wants to go fast. I would say he's really good at that. And then, yeah, it's just how he likes to play his rounds out is a little different than how FNS like to, which I think is kind of good, actually. We show like a bunch of different looks and stuff like that. So it's been definitely going well, I would say.
Yeah, of course. And now going into Marv, everybody knows about Marv's contribution to this NRG core from past years and your familiarity with him. And so I've already asked Victor about this kind of question beforehand, but for you in particular, has there been any change in playing with Marv for this year, given the fact that he was a member of Sentinels, last season and playing with a different set of guys over there.
I would say there's not too much of a difference. I would say he's actually like very hungry to prove people wrong just because, his stint on Sentinels wasn't as good as he would want it to be. And I feel like people are doubting him a lot, which he wants to prove a lot of people, wrong. So he's been putting a lot of work in, and, I respect him a lot for it. We've just been getting our chemistry back together. It's been like a year or so of, not being teammates, but yeah, I would say he's working really hard, and I think we're going to be really good.
Oh yeah, of course. And how did you see his play in particular? As he was the IGO at one point for that team. What kind of observations that you made from that kind of thing, from Marv in particular, that you felt was either made different or changed now that he's with NRG.
So obviously, as an IGL, it's kind of a given that your performance is going to, kind of drop just because you're focused on so many other things and how the team, is playing the round out and stuff like that. So I would say that was the main thing when he was on Sentinels. He couldn't really be himself, right? Like I feel like when we were on Optic, he could shine and really show what he was capable of. He's known for like his really aggressive lurks and just kind of closing rounds out. And I feel like he kind of lost that when he was on Sentinels, just because, like I said, he just had to focus on so many different things. So I would say this year we're just kind of focused on getting him back into that role, getting him back into that groove where he can just shine and really play his style that he wants to play.
Yeah, and when the news came about Marv joining NRG and just playing, returning to this squad and this core, featuring yourself, Crashies, there was a sense of like, oh, this team is gonna go back to what it was in Optic and Envy and stuff like that. So when you looked at the kind of anticipation and sort of sentiment that was thrown upon this team for this year, how did you react to that? Do you feel similar to that, or are you sort of more cautious, or what was your head space like during that time?
I definitely feel like Optic was kind of like a it was definitely like a special period, just because we were all so familiar with each other. We just knew like everything about each other, how we like to play the game, how to play off each other really well. We learned like I feel like we learned from each other really fast, and the chemistry was just like there. It's really hard to like get chemistry that fast. But I feel like with this team, it's definitely like we can definitely be at that level. Demon One, I feel like is, excuse my language, but fucking insane. Just from what I've seen from him in scrims, like this kid is incredible. And then, I mean, me, Victor, and Marv, we just have to support him and help him keep that consistency. And then Ethan, the same goes for him. I feel like it's on us to set him up for success and help him when he needs help. He has a really good mind for the game. He's played with a lot of great IGLs. He was on countless great CSGO teams that have won a lot of tournaments.
Mhm.
So he definitely has the experience, and he just won champions with Demon One. So I think we definitely have the potential to be as great. It's just about finding our groove during the right time, and just all of us being in form.
Yeah, of course, and not you mentioned the Demon One. Of course, we got to go into that. Given that you were distinguished himself as one of the best players in the world, no doubt, despite being a rookie on the tier one level. And so, you mentioned a little bit about supporting him and making and letting him do the things that he usually does on his role. So, what exactly have been the things that you and the rest of the team have been doing to support the likes of Demon One for during this off season?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just kind of like being a role player, right? Like as my role as an initiator, I set up my team. So I mean, I've been playing initiator since the start of the game almost.
Yep.
I know what my teammates expect out of me, and I know how to get the best out of them. So I mean, the same thing was on Optic when I was setting up Victor or Ye, for success. I just kind of give Demon One what he needs without asking. I can kind of like I feel like the good thing about me is I can kind of like know what people want without saying it. So I can kind of, predict what they're going to say or what utility they need, stuff like that, to make their lives a little easier. They can just kind of focus on killing the enemies and focusing on their crosshair. So yeah, I mean, he's been owning in scrims. The transition is really nice. It's nice having a player that can just take over a round, or when a round looks unwinnable, he can just pull something out of his hat and just, win us around. It's incredible, really.
Yeah, just duelist things, just seizing the
Yeah,
initiative
actually,
and just
just duelist things.
yeah, just duelist things, seizing the initiative and just taking matters into your own hands. And
Yeah.
how do you rate Demon One compared to your other duelist teammates? Out of curiosity, because I understand that of course we haven't really seen you guys play in an official yet with this iteration of the roster, but how would you compare him to your past duelist teammates in the likes of Artis and EA?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to talk bad on them, but I would just say that, like, with Demon One, it seems like our chemistry is a little better than what it was with Artis. At times we were on separate pages with Artis, which is, kind of unfortunate. But with Demon One, like I said earlier, I kind of know what he wants and kind of know the fights he wants to take before he takes them. So it's been really easy for me. And yeah, for Demon One, I just feel like he can just, like I said, take over a round, and he's been doing some incredible things in scrims, is what I can say. Like his shots are really good, and he's so new to the game. Like he won, like you said, championship in his rookie year, which is pretty much unheard of. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think he's just going to continue to shine.
Sure, it just speaks also to the absolute state of Valorant,
Yeah,
in which anyone could just go buck wild and just do well for extended period of time. But
you know it.
yeah, of course, and now pivoting towards less more so less towards the team but now towards the game. Of course, you're familiar with the recent changes to the game, i.e. map pool, and then nerfs to the agents, cuff cuff sky. And as someone that has played Sky for a good amount of time in your career, I want to know, how has that affected your role in particular, and how that will play into the rest of the season, given that it was implemented at such a late period of time.
Yeah, so obviously I've played, I mean, throughout my career, I played probably every initiator in the book. Last year it was mainly Sky, I would say. I feel like this year you'll probably see more geckos just because that agent is pretty overpowered right now, especially with the Sky nerf. The nerf was a pretty big hit, and a lot of teams are kind of figuring out how they want to, adapt to the meta. It won't really affect me too much because now that Ethan's on our team, he was like the main Sky player for EG, and I was the Sova player. So on maps like that'll happen like that. I'll still be the Sova player, and he's just the other flash initiator or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've played every initiator, so it doesn't really affect me too much. And then with him, I would just say like his KO is probably one of the best that I've seen, and his Sky was fucking insane as well. It just kind of sucks the way they did nerf her because I feel like it was a little too rough, even though she did need a nerf. The flashes not regenerating is a pretty big hit to her, I would say. So, like I said earlier, you'll probably see a lot more geckos this season.
What about your view on the map pool? Because of course, one of the biggest maps that were returned to the fold or to the fray is Icebox and also Breeze. So, what's your view on the map pool, and like, which maps do you feel is going to play a much bigger role for this year at this point? With everything restarting.
I don't really like the new Icebox because I feel like they didn't really fix the main problems with that map. They didn't change A site at all, which was probably one of the main problems of that map. It's just a poorly designed bomb site for a game that has so much utility. And the bomb site is so small and so one-dimensional. You have to play that map one way, and yeah, they didn't do anything to it. And then the B side of the map, they just made like a little bigger, which is like good. And then they added a window for the tube. Like it was very minimal changes. So I wish they would have went a little more in depth with that. And it kind of sucks they took out Haven and Pearl because I enjoyed those maps and they were pretty good maps for us, I would say.
Mhm.
But Breeze, I enjoy a lot. I feel like it's one of Sova's strongest maps, and I love playing Sova, so I'm definitely excited that that's back in. And then, yeah, I mean, I just wish maybe Haven was still in because that's a fun map to play. The map pool for the season is all right, I would say. Like my final thoughts would be it's just all right. I would have liked to see either Haven or Pearl in instead of Icebox, but that's about it.
Which maps do you feel should have been changed slash altered amidst this recent tide of changes to the game?
Definitely Icebox for sure. Pearl B site has been needing a rework for a long time now. Maybe Split. Like it's pretty one dimension. An Ascent. Ascent has played one comp only. It's pretty hard to expand on that map just because it's so set in stone how you kind of have to play that map, and you can just see that with all the compositions. Everyone plays the same exact thing. Everyone has the same exact ideas, so probably Ascent needs to get changed. Other than that, it's in a pretty good state, I would say.
Of course, of course. And now, final set of questions before I wrap it up. With a team such as NRG, there goes about, as I alluded to earlier, this sense of oh, this team is filled with superstar players. former world champions, current world champions. So of course they're going to do well, right? And so that said, when you look at the expectations such as that, um, does it affect you in any way? Does that add pressure to you, in particular, compared to the past teams? Because of course, there's different expectations for different versions of the team that you were part of. But does this particular year um, give a greater sense of pressure for you?
Nah. Probably if I was a newer player, it might, but I'm so experienced these days, I feel like even on Optic, I feel like that was where the most pressure was. We were expected to always, make it to finals, always win at these events, always make deep tournament runs. So I feel like that definitely helped me, handle pressure and get used to it. And I feel like the players on our team really deal with pressure well, and I feel like we like the added pressure just because we know what the community expects of us and what we expect out of ourselves. So I think it'll actually help us.
Hmm. And one more question before I wrap it up. More so, just your view on to the rest of the league. Of course, coming into this league, people are rating you guys as number one. So that said, I want to to look at how your other team, the other teams within the league, but most specifically, who do you view as like your top contender, top rival?
I would say I honestly would say this year is probably going to be one of the hardest years of VCT. I feel like there's a lot of strong teams in NA, and I feel like any one of the top four can just beat each other on the given day. Like even ourselves, like we can lose if we play bad or make mistakes. This game is really, I would say, tough to be consistent in. It's just based on form and whoever makes the less mistakes on the game day. But if I had to rank like our rival or something like that. Um, Sentinels have been looking good. They just won that off-season tournament. Leviathan have Aspaz and King, and I feel like that roster is has potential to be really, really insane. Um, and then yeah, like I said, Sentinels, Leviathan, Loud has a new roster as well, with QCK getting added. It's just there's so many question marks, I feel like, and yeah, like any one of those teams I could say could be our rivals. We have so much history with Loud, as it is. Sadhack has always played a lot of games against us, and we're really familiar with him. But if I had to choose a rivalry, I would kind of want Sentinels just because of how much clout they have. I feel like those games would be fun, and I feel like they'll be like the most viewed. So I'll just choose Sentinels.
Of course, and hopefully you'll be able to do well. Finally, get that one domestic title
Yeah.
for this season. Make that happen, and also everything after that. So, Crashies, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck goes to the team and also for you.
Thank you, Pedro. Have a good one.
All right, you too, man. Take care.